So, who's Lalo?
Who?
Lalo. Got some dude named Lalo sent us. You seem pretty freaked out. Never heard of no Lalo on the street.
It's nobody.
In the cold open, we see a remake and new perspective of the It Was Ignacio scene. This was the scene we first saw in Breaking Bad Season 2, Episode 8, the episode called Better Call Saul. The characters Lalo and Ignacio, aka Nacho, were actually created from this scene alone. To this day, we see Saul is still scared of Lalo. Episode 11 starts with Francesca calling Gene just months after the events of Breaking Bad. She updates him and fills him in on what's happened since he left. She mentions Skyler White's got her deal and the only ones left to go after are him and Jesse Pinkman. She said they found his car at the border. This was really cool to hear because we see in El Camino.
Leave it near the border.
Got about 3 hours to get this thing down south.
The only ones left to go after are you and Pinkman, and I heard they found his car down by the border, so adios, dopehead.
Saul asks about the nail salons, the laser tag. She says the feds got them all. She doesn't know about QB but says that Huel is back home. We saw back when Hank and Steve Gomez had him at that safe house, and she's now said that this was the DEA holding him under false pretenses, which is cool as we now finally know he walked out and got out of the safe house. Then she says she did get one call after everything went down. This was Kim. She says his name came up. He seems shocked that she asked about him, maybe even slightly confused. Before going into more detail, she hangs up. After this, Saul drives to another payphone and asks for a number in Florida. He's trying to look for Kim. Just as he gets a response, we are brought out of the payphone and only hear the muffled, distressed cries of Jimmy, making it impossible to hear what he's actually saying. We just know he's upset at what he hears back. It's bad news about Kim. From whatever he finds out, this triggers something inside of him. He's back in Jeff's mother's house, Marion. He's teaching her about funny cat videos on YouTube. Yeah, it's definitely 2010 still. From here, Gene takes Jeff to the garage and says almost desperately he needs barbiturates. He's immediately back into wanting crime, like he's filling the void that Kim's absence leaves with the absolute worst case scenario. Even Jeff is surprised. We cut to Gene singing karaoke at a bar where he's then called Victor by someone he's trying to scam. This is how we know he's scamming, because Victor is his scamming name. This is the first we see of this scam he's created with Jeff and his friend. They pull this scam with quite a few men until they run into the ultimate roadblock, a man with cancer. This is where the Breaking Bad flashbacks come in.
Crystal ship definitely travels.
I'm sorry, you said the what?
This scene takes place just after what we saw in Season 2, Episode 8 of Breaking Bad. The point of it is we see Saul finds out these men have cancer, yet still pursues them for his own needs.
He is on a need-to-know basis.
I didn't want to show my face.
I've never been too keen on when Aaron is in his early 40s playing a 24-year-old version of Jesse Pinkman, but it actually looks good here. In El Camino, I think it worked really well because he had the shaved head look and he was a beaten, scarred Jesse. But the first 3 seasons of Jesse Pinkman, where he still had hair for the majority of it, it has been quite odd, but I actually really liked how he looked in this scene. And Bryan Cranston, it's like he's not aged since Season 2. It was so good. And when he asked about Lalo, that is the ultimate way to pay respect to such a villain. The Mike flashback set just before Saul would go to Walt's high school in Season 2 was also massively appreciated. We see Mike wear those black sunglasses he wore when he first met Jesse when he went to go and clean Jane's death up in his first episode on Breaking Bad called ABQ.
Saul Goodman sent me.
I also really love how he was more aggressive than how we've seen him in Better Call Saul. It connected him to the version we see in Breaking Bad that much more.
Either I'm gonna leave, or I'm gonna put my foot in your skull.
We also see how right Mike was.
Well, listen, even if this guy was gonna live, I wouldn't go near him. Let it go.
Had Saul listened, he'd still be Saul, and Mike would still be alive. In this episode, we're basically seeing once again that a man with cancer is the ultimate downfall of Saul Goodman. Even when Jeff shows apprehension and his friend completely refuses, Saul still does it. The meaning of the Walt and Jesse flashback in this episode was showing the parallel of both times Jimmy has and now will fall. Firstly, it was him targeting Walter White, the man with cancer, because of the product he could produce, and now as Gene, he continues to pursue a man with cancer he met at the bar that he planned to scam. Without a care in the world and with no caution, he goes out of his way to rob this man, not even doing it in their proper revised way. He smashes through their window and will no doubt get caught. Jeff said before he's not even sure the guy drank all of the water with the sleeping pills in it. Don't forget that Marion heard Gene and the commotion in the garage. She likely heard the whole thing. This would explain the hype and suspense around Carol Burnett being announced as a new cast member. Being Jeff's mum alone was quite odd, but Jeff's mum, who also turns into the 1 weak link in Gene's plan, that's more like it, and explains getting such a big actor to do something like Jeff's mum. This is like when Walter got too relaxed and careless and left that book that Gal left him just lying around. Hank found it and it was the catalyst of literally everything going wrong. Marion is that for Gene. Now, there is a silver lining to all of this. Kim. We didn't hear what was said on the phone call. With Gene's seemingly self-destructive behaviour, it definitely would make one think something bad has happened to her. It certainly didn't look like he was talking to her on the phone, just reacting to news about her. I think there's also a chance that he's spoken to someone who Kim knows, and they've revealed she's with a family now, someone else, and that's why he's so self-destructive. I think there's also a big chance that Kim herself is locked up, so he's being self-destructive to actually get himself turned in. They find out he's Saul Goodman, and in some way he can help her get out and take the blame for whatever she's being blamed for. It seems like either way, Saul is acting like this to get closer to Kim. All of a sudden his Gene identity's up in smoke and he's straight back to being Saul. Yet the colour has still not returned. I think we have to assume that the colour will return when Kim does. We've seen Gene in his black and white scenes thinking that the reason the exuberant Saul Goodman colours have left him and not returned is because he's no longer up to his Saul antics. But Gene has been going back to Saul again and still no colours to be seen. So I think in actuality it was never the crime that he needed. It was Kim. The ending of Better Call Saul could really just be that he gets locked up or that Kim gets locked up. Just when you thought it would be some kind of happy ending, maybe he just settles into his life of being Gene, I think he's going to get locked up one way or another. We're actually seeing three sides to the trio. We're seeing with Jesse, he escaped, Walter died, so wouldn't it make sense if Saul, the lawyer, got locked up? But what do you think? How do you think it will end? And how do you think Kim will return? What will happen to Gene? Let me know what you think down below. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon.
Please don't do it in the desert. Anywhere but the desert.